If you see something and it's impossible, you turn around and don't go down that road. But I feel if you just keep going, keep trying, maybe one day you'll never get there, but I promise you're going to be a hell of a lot closer than if you didn't even start going down that road. But in most cases, I think if you open your eyes one day, you're going to be looking backwards at the barrier and you're going to be way past it. And in my simple getting dressed example, my record now is 2 minutes and 41 seconds. 2.5 times faster than what I thought was going to be impossible. And that's fully, that's shoes, socks, underpants, pants. I can get in the chair, put the shirt on, be off. It's just, again, it's mind-blowing to think it's possible. But then you start going and do it, suddenly there you are, and you open your eyes and it's done.
Welcome to the Enrichment Project, Path to Purpose, recorded by the mad talent at Solid Gold Podcasts. It is a series of unfiltered and insightful conversations with some of the most remarkable purpose-driven human beings who have all achieved, created, inspired, triumphed, or challenged, and we have a great deal to learn from them. It is a quest to uncover and articulate the steps along the way to help you on your own journey of purpose. I am your host, Richard Wright, and I am delighted to have you with me. Thank you for the gift of your time. Let's dive straight in. I could not be more excited or thrilled at the guest that I've got lined up for you today. Before I introduce him and bring him into the room, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this phenomenal human being that I'm going to be chatting with today. So in his category, right, he is the first person ever in the history of the world to complete a full Ironman in his category, right? That's a 3.8 kilometer swim. It's a 180 kilometer cycle and a 42.2 kilometer run. He has won his category at the Berlin Marathon 7 times. He was a world record holder for 10,000 meters around the track. And he has medaled at some road world champs. He's the first person ever to complete in his category again, the 8 kilometer Robben Island swim. And now I need to tell you, he's done all of that as a C6 quadriplegic. So Pieter Du Preez, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time, and we're delighted to have you.
Thank you very much.
So Pieter, before I allow you to say anything more, I just have to try and explain how remarkable this is to people listening. So where you and I listening most of us have got 100% use of all the muscles in our body, right? Whether we use them, whether we don't, whether we train them, whether we don't, we have use of them. Pieter has done all of those events with literally something around 15% of the use of all the muscles in his body. But that's not all. He isn't able to breathe the way you and I can because of the muscles in his chest and muscles around his lungs. So he has to, and he'll tell himself far better than I will, but he's using different muscles to breathe. But that's still not all. He isn't able to regulate his body temperature, and he isn't able to get his heart rate up, which obviously for any major sport, any athletics, that's pretty critical. And from a performance point of view, that's very necessary. So with those limitations, he has managed to do some incredibly remarkable things. Pieter, can you perhaps just explain those limitations a little bit better than I can?
Yeah, look, I mean, you've done a pretty good job. But yeah, I just want to disclaim as well, the 15% is sort of my own little calculation of that. It might even be less than that. I doubt it will be more than that. But yeah, I think also, those things that you mentioned, the first part of it all for me is really that it's the physical side that everybody sees. But the hardest part is those things like blood pressure that's low, heart rate that can't go up. And I mean, as much as you want your arms to go faster, and your lung capacity isn't the problem, but if your heart rate doesn't want to pump, it just, you're not going to be able to go faster. And that's a big limitation. But I mean, other simple things like just no control over your bowel and your bladder are also things that people don't realize of any spinal cord injuries, not just quadriplegics. And those are things that are all issues on a daily basis, not just during a race or anything. that is really tough. And that you have to sort of come to grips with on how you deal with those things on a daily basis, never mind a race.
So one of the things that's always struck me since the moment our paths crossed is your attitude. And even now, for those of you who are listening in podcast version, you really need to get across to YouTube to go and have a look at this chat. It's just your attitude, your vibe, you radiate happiness, you radiate positivity, and your entire life changed. And I just, that to me is, I don't even find the right words, is what I find so remarkable about you. Peter, can you take us back to that day? Sure. Can you please take us back to that day where everything changed for you?
Yeah, so it's an ironic story. I had a bit of a hamstring niggle, so before my accident, I was already sort of had my big dreams and goals and wanted to go to the Olympics. And I ended up being, big on my passion for triathlons in the end, although I came from a running background. But yeah, I had a hamstring niggle, and I'd been to the chiropractor once before, and he was 30 Ks away. I had to do 60 Ks of training on the day, so I thought kill two birds with one stone. And then on my way to the chiropractor on the bicycle to get my spine in alignment, a car didn't see me and it knocked my spine completely out of alignment. So it's actually a very ironic story. But yeah, and I mean, I was lying there flat on the tar. It was an elderly lady who knocked me off the bike, and she stopped at the stop street and she just didn't see me. It was just purely accident. She wasn't drunk, she wasn't nothing. It was an accident. It happens.
Sure.
And anyway, she thought a rock hit the car, and then she got out of the car and she saw the bike, and then she saw me on the other side of the road, and she started screaming hysterically.
Sure.
And it was incredible for me how, I'm a man of faith, and just how the grace of God was there with me. I calmed her down and told her immediately I forgive her, but she must calm down so we could deal with the situation. And, at that point, I wasn't able to move even my shoulders. So I knew something was wrong with my neck, whether it was going to be permanent or not. I mean, at that point, I had no idea. What I didn't realize, and thank God I couldn't feel that stuff then, was I broke my femur and crushed my kneecap and broke my wrists and stuff. So I was just lying face down on the tar in the middle of that very hot day, 6 October 2003. And yeah, look, from there, I went to the nearest hospital who couldn't deal with the injuries. I started battling to breathe there as well, but I got then taken to the nearest P1 hospital who could deal with that kind of injuries. And that ended up being the Union Hospital in Alberton. And that's where I spent 42 days in ITU, 32 days on a ventilator. And there was a lot of things that happened. I lost control over my eyesight because the swelling went up to the brainstem. And things went from bad to worse before it got better. But I've got some crazy stories in ICU, as I'm sure many other people who's been on morphine and in induced comas and stuff and had holes drilled in their head, etc., will be able to tell. Now we're here today and still smiling.
And tell me, so from a pain point of view, lying there on the tarmac, what could you feel?
Look, so it was a funny thing. So first of all, from after that and before that, well, actually only after that, having some big injuries, I think adrenaline takes away a lot of the pain. But at that point, honestly, I could just feel almost nothing. But if you speak with people with spinal injuries, it felt like I was on fire. That's a normal spinal nerve injury sort of kind of feeling. But other than that, like I said, I couldn't move anything. So, I did ask the guys, look, is there anything? Because at that stage I was still hoping that, okay, I'll be okay. And so I just wanted to know what's the damage to the rest of my body. So I asked him, does the leg still look okay? And because other people actually arrived and took the lady away from me because she just kept screaming. She was hysterical. So then they told me, no, look, your knee looks in a weird position, so something's up there. I remember that specifically. Then there was a lady, I even remember her name, Desiree Goss, who she just stayed there and kept me calm, but sort of held a newspaper over my head because it was very hot in the middle of the day and stuff. So, and they stayed there until the ambulance arrived, So, luckily I wasn't in pain, the big thing for me was that incredible calmness, which I had. And as I say, for me, I almost want to say it was a spiritual moment, but I was just calm as hell.
Wow. Okay, so the lady who caused the accident, and as you said, it's just an accident. Just an accident. Are you still in contact?
Okay, so we aren't, but I also want to touch on what you just said about just an accident, because people will think, it is just an accident. It's almost like I want people to get this in their heads, because I want to ask you, how many times have you been driving your car, or it might be something else that could have caused something like this, but driving in your car, maybe I'm the only person then, but I've been in my car, stop at a stop, so you don't think what I'm doing, drive, and then suddenly I wake, oh shucks, I almost hit somebody. And I've just been very fortunate that I haven't actually hurt somebody in such a serious way as I was injured. Okay, so I think people need to think about that. If she was drunk or did something wrong, yes, okay, and people say, yeah, but she was still negligible because she didn't see you and it was the middle of the day. But it was an accident. These things happen. It's life, and thank God that's the way I think about it as well. And I always say, forgiveness sets you free. And I think that's very important, because that's always, I want to say, what saved me not going down that road of why and hating this lady. But to answer your question, yes, she came to the hospital. She brought me food. When I was out of hospital and rehab, she came there. And it was completely on the other side of town. And to be really honest, I've got huge respect for this lady. I think till the day she dies, if I don't walk into her house, she will feel guilty, but that's her problem. That's not mine. I forgave her and I told her to her face.
You can't carry that.
Yes. But, for me, how many people do you know where something like this happens and they know they sort of caused this to a person, has the guts to go there every day and face my mom, who obviously hated her.
Wow.
For obvious reasons. But so I kept contact, but then eventually my mom had a lot of trauma. She's passed away, my mom, since as well. But, and I just think, for me, every time the phone rang at home, she started like, who's that? And things started going off. And I just realized it was a trigger. And I told the lady, it's better if she doesn't phone me for a while, because, I don't want when a friend phones me that my mom gets upset almost, because that's how bad it almost got at a certain point. So, but I mean, backing my mom, there's no way you treat a situation like this. There's no textbook. Sure. It's not like I think my mom did something wrong, because how are you supposed to treat a situation like that? So anyway, I'm just glad, for me, that, it was that lady and that she had the guts to come and support me and chat with me afterwards, and that the situation ended up as it did.
Yeah, sure. I think for her, maybe also part of her own healing. But I mean, how do you deal with that? You've literally ruined a person's life. Although we could also talk about that, and if I think of your life, how many other people that you have impacted and the positive impact that you've had on thousands of people, and it stem from that event. So, how do we turn tragedy into something completely different? But for those, especially those of you who are watching this on YouTube, for those of you listening, I'm looking at Pieter on the screen right now, and I can see his shoulders and I can see his head, and he's moving his head around, and from time to time the arms come up and he's moving his shoulders back. And if I looked at you, Pieter, and I didn't know your situation, you look completely normal. Can you help us out a little bit there? Yeah,
so I think that's the point for me as well about, it's almost like I want to say I am completely normal. But if you see the whole picture, then suddenly people get scared, or they get, I almost say, overcompensate instead of just treating you normal. And look, some guys never get over it when they're in a situation like this. Some guys take years, but if they're at the point where they've moved on with life, they're actually just a normal person, and that's how you should treat them. And that's what almost irritates me the most. If somebody comes and tells me, oh, your wheelchair is like a Ferrari, or what? It's all these old ladies normally in the shops or whatever. That's almost like what I call overcompensation, or trying to be too nice. And I'm just like, just treat me normally, please. And then other people who look at you, and then the moment they see it, they look away, kind of thing. But I mean, the point is, it's not their fault. I am different. So I also had to learn that I need to break the ice and get people sort of to just realize, oh, let's just talk normally. Ask me the question. ask me the questions you want to ask, because there's sometimes you can see these guys want to ask the questions, but they're scared. And in the end, you're just a normal person. Just ask me, because I'd love to answer them. So
I'm delighted that you answered the question that way, because part of what we are going to talk about today is normal, and how when we can normalize something in ourselves and we can accept and that becomes normal, that gives us a certain power. It's an incredibly empowering thing. And you've taken it to the next level. So it is. Everything in your life is normal. And right now, as we're recording this, we're in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and so many people are saying, I just want to go back to normal. If we could just go back to normal, how amazing would that be? So I know this from a brain cancer point of view. Sitting there when you're told that you are going to die, I just want to go back to normal. I want the old Richard back. And then, and I know you can relate. It's hard to, and I want to talk about this in some detail. It's very hard to accept this or live in this moment, because there's fear in terms of what is going to come. There's fear in terms of what is my life going to look like? What is going to happen to me? Am I actually going to succumb to the cancer? So because we have this uncertainty and the unknown, and that's part of this COVID pandemic. Nobody's been to the other side. Nobody can come back and say, hey guys, here's the handbook. This is what's going to happen. This is, second wave, third wave, fourth wave. And then the fifth wave, it gets better. And then, we have no idea. So until then, we're stuck in this place where we want to go back to normal. We don't want to accept this normal, and we're scared of the normal that's going to come. But until we can accept this normal, what it is, this now, where we are at, we can't actually move forward. So can you talk to me a bit about, surely there must have been some feelings of being a victim, feeling like a victim. Surely there must have been some depression, some dark times.
You see, so this is a very strange thing, but this is for me, when I sometimes do some talks and stuff, I believe in miracles. As I say, I'm a man of faith, and I believe in miracles. I'm not an angel by no means, but somehow the one thing that's very strong is my actual faith and just trusting. Obviously, I feel miracles happen. I can get up and walk one day. But for me, the biggest miracle is I'm sitting here today, and it's more than 17 years now. 6 October this year, it was 17 years. And I have not had one of those moments. Not once. Now that is a much bigger miracle than standing up and walking. And so unfortunately now you want me to talk about that, and I can talk a lot about it and what I see in tons of everyone else around me. Obviously, now you see many of these guys. I go to rehabs and help guys, show them how to do stuff, etc. And you see all these things, and I go to rehabs and I look at this situation. I'm like, geez, this was supposed to be really hard. But the irony of it all is, here I am back on nappies, 23 years old, and I had fun trying to figure out how am I actually going to be able to put a sock on without a tool. It was fun for me. And I cannot explain it to you, but and when I say fun, whether you say, I accept it, I moved on, all psychologists kept on wanting to give me antidepressant pills when I was in rehab. First shot, that's what they do, because they say you're going to hit the wall. There's a place for that stuff, but I just felt as long as I held on to my faith, I'll be fine. And so I had huge fights with them, and they said I was going to hit the wall and I'm in denial, etc. But up till today, I go there and I realize I should just be thankful, because for me, in that moment, I just made it a challenge, and I had fun trying to figure out that challenge. And what fueled my fire is when everyone else was telling me, but you won't ever be able to do it. And it pissed me off, but it also, I almost want to say, and it's the same with my whole attitude about sport and your competitors and stuff, same as when I broke that 10,000 meter world record. When you tell me stuff like that, it almost fuels my fire. So I almost want to thank them for that, because I think if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't even have been here, or might have even taken me longer. So, but that's my answer to that. I mean, and there is, most other people, they do struggle and have those depression moments and tough times. But honestly, you can ask everybody who's known me from the day of my accident, and they'll just tell you they all don't understand it. I just put it towards my faith, but I haven't had a bad day. Look, I've been crossed when a taxi drives into my car. I've had bad days like what we now talk about, a normal person. I actually hate the word normal, but it's just, we have to use it. Yeah. But in terms of sitting in this chair, any big things in my life, somehow, maybe it's a gift from God, but I've just managed to carry on and change a bad situation into something great.
So, you've made it this far, probably because the topic resonated with you. If you're wondering what the show is all about, listen to the trailer at the start of the season and find out how this show is going to help you along your own path to purpose. You've stumbled on a project that is all about purpose. Find out why the guests are all so vastly different, but yet all have so much in common. Hop on board this journey with me, follow the Enrichment project so that you don't miss out on a single episode, and share it with, well, everyone. We are all looking for more meaning in our lives. If the show speaks to your identity or the identity of your brand, consider sponsoring a season. Let's make the circle bigger. Back to the episode, and thanks for listening. So, in conducting these interviews and having these conversations, and obviously this thing called purpose intrigues me and fascinates me. I'm curious about it, and it's a big part of my own journey. And there's lots about what you said that that resonates with me, that I can relate to. And exactly the same. The more people told me that I couldn't do an Ironman with stage 4 brain cancer, the more it maybe just hold my beer. That is what it is, right? So what I'm trying to uncover and unpack is where that thing comes from, right? And so for you, you're a man of faith, and there's that strong belief and there's desire. And for other people, it might be different things. For me, it is, if I can do this, I'm proving to myself that I can do something harder. I'm proving to myself that I'm going to be okay. I'm proving to myself that I can overcome this thing. So there's a lot of that. And then there's the competitive part in me, which I think that is you to a T. So, I mean, could you tell me, is there a world record for a C6 quadriplegic in terms of how long it takes to put your clothes on?
So, I mean, yeah, I have it, obviously.
Obviously.
No, I mean, I always talk about you've obviously heard that story about my getting dressed, but
I have.
The point being, look, it isn't any official record. I mean, I suppose I should go and make an official one or whatever, and let's put it down in the Guinness books. But the point being, it's just, I call it the world record, but no, so there isn't officially one, but I made my own sort of marks, and then marks that I thought was impossible in everything I did, and my own little, what I call world records, but it's not an official thing or whatever, but because it's actually a lot of these things it's never been done before, or guys of my level of disability just don't do it. You just get told you can't. So it's my own little world record, but so every time I break that or whatever, it's a motivator, So yes, I'm with you. Competitive spirit, a big part of it's my faith. But I think the other thing I just also realized, from the start, but there was a big lead up into my accident in terms of my faith and just how things happen. I really feel I was born to be a quad, to be honest. But for me, what was interesting is also I realized almost suddenly through this whole experience in hospital and how many people suddenly came to visit me there, which I feel ashamed to say today, half of that people that came to visit me, and there was tons, let me just tell you. Sometimes there was 30 people in the waiting room waiting to come in. And half of those people, either I didn't know, or even if I knew they were in an accident, I probably wouldn't even have gone to the hospital. And that made me realize what an impact we make on other people's lives. And what I want to get to here is, you're talking about, so what drives you, what got you like moving forward or just having that attitude? And the honest answer is people. And when I was in the accident, it's almost like I felt now I have a responsibility because I've got even more people that I'm influencing, more eyes on me. What's going to happen now? And the fact that I realized that motivated and drive me, because I realized I need to show these people this is how you, I don't say this is how you deal with it, but this is a way of how you deal with it, hopefully in a good way, and turn a bad thing into something great. So for me, people is the motivator,
Wow. Okay. So is one of the steps in terms of the path to purpose is, understanding what we give a damn about. And, that's huge. It's always, it's from a purposeful journey. It's always something that is bigger than yourself, outside of yourself. So that answer there just hit the nail on the head. It very, very much, it's greater than you. So just to go back, because I think some of the people need some context. I know the story, but many people probably won't. So I'm also quite similar to you in that. So I finished events and I said, yes, that Ironman, I won the cancer category, because there isn't a cancer category, and maybe there should be, I don't know. And then did I just win the brain cancer category, or did I win the cancer category? Do I have the world record for a brain cancer, somebody who got brain cancer getting to the finish line? That's exactly the same thing for me. It's extremely, extremely competitive, right? So just give us some context. The first time you put your clothes on, without any, I think without help, how long did it take you?
Yeah, so it took me 50 minutes. But obviously there's a big lead up into just that, because you had to figure out each element on its own. And again, maybe just to explain to people, I've got no hand or finger function. I can't move my fingers at all. So,
let's go back.
I was trying to see my hand here. So it looks like I'm moving my fingers, but all I'm moving is my wrist. And it looks like my fingers are touching, so there's big grip, but there's actually, there's no grip really. So everything I do is actually trick movement. So again, no hand or fingers, no tricep function. The only muscles I actually have are this wrist movement, my biceps, and my shoulders. The rest, there's no movement over the whole of my body, nothing.
So can I stop you for 2 seconds there, right? So for those of you who don't know, for those of you who can see, the bicep is the inside muscle on the arm, and the tricep is the one underneath, right? So you've just got biceps, no triceps.
No triceps.
And then the wrists.
Functional, yeah.
Functional, right?
No functional triceps.
When I see you touching, can you feel your fingers?
Yes, I can. So initially, sensoric, I'm incomplete. So most guys of my level who are complete sensoric and motor, they won't have feeling from your middle finger onwards to your pinky and underneath your arm. The whole bottom of your arm, you don't have feeling, and the rest of your body, you've got no feeling. I've got sensation over my whole body, like light touch, and I'm very fortunate, so I can feel even when the wind blows on the hair of my legs. But I can't feel pain, I can't feel heat and cold. But every little bit helps, because, for instance, I will know, my foot fell off my chair, and I won't go over it and break my ankle. The other guys will, it's happened before, not often, but the guy's foot falls off his chair and he rolls over it in bed when he breaks his ankle, because he didn't realize his leg came off. I can put it that way, too late. So every little bit helps. But point being, I don't have normal feeling, but yes, I can feel my fingertips, and I can now. In the beginning, I could also feel nothing. And it's amazing how I actually got some sensation, and that gradually over the years are getting slightly better. But you can stick a knife in my body and it'll spasm, because that's other stuff. I've got spasms. You have to be careful of pressure sores, all that stuff. But I won't, I'll still sit and look at you, not feeling serious pain because of a knife stuck in my leg or something. So it's strange.
Okay. And then shoulders. So your neck, obviously, and shoulders.
Neck. So shoulders. So I mean, if I have to put it down to by exact anatomy, I've got a little bit of pec minor. They graded out of 5. So 0 is nothing, 5 is normal. So pec minor, I would say I've got about 2, but pec major and down, pretty much almost nothing. And then for the rest, it's teres minor, major, and your shoulders, the scapularis, infraspinatus, supraspinatus. So most of my shoulder, you would say, works, but there's a lot of lats and that kind of stuff, which also helps with stability. Like, for instance, when you transfer, if you have triceps, you can hold your balance. If you don't have triceps, I lock my arms when I transfer. So all your balance and stuff is either with your head and you've played with your shoulders and ankles and stuff just to keep your balance. But even lats and that stuff helps, but I don't have those. So, and then breathing again. I don't have the intercostal muscles in my chest, so I breathe mostly just with diaphragm. And then there's again your upper shoulder muscles sometimes also helps, and that's I mean, we're probably not going to go into it, but recently when I punctured my lungs with dry needling, well, the reason why that happened is because I actually have overcompensation with those muscles at the top to help with breathing.
So just sorry, I can't let that go. So when I first chatted to you to set this up, you didn't respond for a couple of days because you're in ICU or you're in hospital, right? Because you punctured lung. Just but wait. Tell me what happened about 9 weeks ago.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. But I went to pick up my son from school 200 meters down the road here in my normal day chair, and it's just got this clip-on thing that I clip onto the day chair, and then it helps you, easier on the road and stuff. And literally 200 meters in a straight line from my house, as I was going into the parking lot, it's just a slight upslope and then down into the parking lot. I wasn't even going fast, like 10, 12 k's an hour maybe. The brakes failed and I had to flip over or hit the wall. I had to make the decision, and I decided to flip over and take my chances. So I broke my shoulder, so basically dislocated the AC joint completely and broke the coracoid process off the scapula completely. So look, a very, very serious injury for a guy like me that already has nothing, so
it's major.
But anyway, look, it's all good now. But yeah, I mean, the irony of it all, I just say, is that stuff should happen when you're going 80 k's an hour down a downhill on your racing bike or something, not picking up your son. But life happens, so I'm still alive.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and this is the year where you should have been in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny because it happened literally when I was probably already going to be in Tokyo with my family for Paralympics. So hopefully it still happens next year. It's moved a year, but so it's just an interesting couple of last 9 weeks that I've had. But sometimes it pushes you and makes you make decisions to shape the way the future should be going. I don't know. Let's see where it ends.
I think that's the crazy thing about you is just your whole attitude towards that and how you deal with these things and how incredibly strong and good you are at dealing with things that for other people would be like the end of the world, literally, and go on and on and on about them. But, beginning of the interview, you said, Rich, I'm going to be moving a little bit because I just need to move my shoulder. Hope that's okay with you. Sure. It's quite something. Okay, but now we're jumping around. I like the fact that this, we can just have a chat like this, and that's great. But I need to get back to you dressing yourself. Let's go.
Yeah. So again, with that little function, the big thing for me is also I didn't want to use tools because there are assistive tools to help you with certain things. But I didn't want to have to carry a bag of tricks wherever I go, so I could just do stuff. And sure, I do use tools for where it is necessary, etc. But certain things I just thought, no, I'll be able to figure this out. So anyway, so it took me 51 minutes to dress myself that first time, and we normally dress on the bed. And I told look, and I was dead tired then. That was right in the beginning of coming out of rehab.
Done.
And then I just said, look, that's not functional. You can't dress 51 minutes every day, almost an hour every day. So I decided a functional time for me would be 15 minutes, 1-5. So I felt if I could get to dress in 15 minutes, then on a daily basis, I can live with that. So what I said is there was a lady that was with me in the beginning, amazing lady, Karen Staley, and I gave her my stopwatch and it was on your marks, get set, go. And I could see she was laughing, inside. Obviously, she didn't want to laugh in front of me. I knew she was laughing. This guy timing himself getting dressed. And he'll never get there. I mean, she could see how slow and useless I was, But anyway, the idea was that I dress, and when I get to 15 minutes, I stop, and then she can finish me up. And obviously, some days I even then trained after that one aspect of this, that, whatever. But the whole idea was to hopefully, on a daily basis, slowly but surely, get closer and closer, and hopefully one day be fully dressed at 15 minutes. And I think it was about a month later, one step forward, two steps forward, one step back. I opened my eyes and I hit 15 minutes and I was fully dressed. And then I said, I'm not going to leave it there. I'm going to make what we spoke about, world record impossible time, 7 minutes.
Exactly.
And I knew I would never get there, but as long as I saw I was getting faster, it motivated me because it meant I was getting better at this whole thing about living life. And I started timing everything, not just getting dressed. But anyway, it was probably about 2 months later. I opened my eyes under 10 minutes, under 9 minutes, and suddenly 2 months later, I opened my eyes, I broke 7 minutes. And, for me through that, it's again comes down to, I'm fine with seeing a barrier, but I don't see it as something impossible. I see it as something I want to go smash through. And I feel if you see something and it's impossible, you turn around and don't go down that road. But I feel if you just keep going, keep trying, maybe one day you'll never get there, but I promise you're going to be a hell of a lot closer than if you didn't even start going down that road. But in most cases, I think if you open your eyes one day, you're going to be looking backwards at the barrier and you're going to be way past it. And in my simple getting dressed example, my record now is 2 minutes and 41 seconds, 2.5 times faster than what I thought was going to be impossible. And that's fully, that's shoes, socks, underpants, pants. I can get in the chair, put the shirt on, be off under 3 minutes, So it's just, again, it's mind-blowing to think it's possible. But then you start going and do it, suddenly there you are, and you open your eyes and it's done.
Understand. So for me, I think this is a very, very big and powerful thing in terms of your life and how you have got to where you are right now. And I'd even go so far as to say, I know you've said now you are prepared to recognize the barriers there. But I don't think you see the barriers. I think you see the goal and where you want to go. And that's the power of purpose, is this idea of what I want, and I'm just going to keep on doing it. And if I focus on that, there's that saying that says the obstacle is the thing that you see when you take your eyes off the goal. For you, I don't think they're obstacles because you're just so focused on what you want and where you want to go that you get there.
Look, I want to say the goal is the barrier for me.
Okay.
I always want to say that, but that is the thing. It's the goal. The dream is the thing you can't touch. But if you set the date, for me, the dream becomes the goal. If you never set the date, it stays a dream. And if you can't touch it, and the thing is, it doesn't have to be a time. People can apply whichever way they want to see this, but you can apply to like just anger management or spending more time with your kids. But you put a date down and say, I'm going to check in and see, am I better? And you put some people in place who can keep you accountable. And on that date, you check in. And if you're there where you want to be, then great. If you're not, at least it's something you can touch. But if you never set that date, it's almost like it just stays a dream. It keeps floating and you never check in. So,
thank you. That's powerful. So part of the study is to look at people who are saying, I've got these things I'm obsessed about. I've got these things that I do without thinking. I do hard things. But I can't. I don't know that that's my purpose, or I don't know that I can earn money at that, or I don't know where that's going to take me. It could be gaming. It could be a sport. It could be anything really. And part of this is to try and say, but hold on 2 seconds. So we can understand what it is about that thing that makes you feel so obsessed. What is it about that thing that that you think is normal for you, but the rest of us look at you and like, gee, that guy's a little bit nuts because he manages to do that and he likes it. What's wrong with him? What is that stuff? So I have this thought, right, that this elite athlete, this person you were, this elite athlete that was chasing times and wanting to be the best, and you had these aspirations of getting right up to the top, that thing that you're obsessed about. And you're doing that thing when you got knocked off your bicycle. That's just been carried through. That same obsession is the same stuff that is you wanting to time yourself and set a world record of getting dressed. You wanting to obliterate these obstacles. Am I right in saying that? Yeah,
no, for sure. There was a documentary video made of me a couple of years ago. It's a short one. But anyway, long story short, it's called Still Running. Because for me, one of the things I always said is I was running before my accident and I'm still running, just in a different way. And it's exactly that for me. It's, the thing for me is your body is just your body. It's not who you are. It doesn't define who you are. Who you are is who you are inside you, Peter, the Peterness, the super Peterness, whatever, the Richardness. And, the drive, the purpose, all that kind of stuff. Yes, I was on my way doing it in a certain way with my body in that way. And then I broke my neck and now my body works differently. and I had to find another way, but the purpose was still the same, and the person was still the same, maybe just even stronger and better and more driven. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's how I see it.
I think definitely that. So our challenges make us, right?
Absolutely.
Or break us. That's a choice. So tell me now, how did you, what got you from timing yourself to getting dressed to smashing world records and being the first person to cross the finish line of a full Ironman as a C6 quad? What was that? Why that?
Yeah, so look, Ironman has always been a big thing. And triathlon, as I said, that's just what I was chasing. And I mean, to be honest, for me to go full circle on feeling that I have now conquered triathlon again, for me, it was a very important thing because I would have, for me, I wanted to feel like I'm always back to the normal that we're talking about. But I would have felt I'm back to normal. I'm back to almost, I really felt I was almost before my accident, if I can put it that way. But yeah, I mean, even before my accident, you told me the focus is purpose here, and why do you do that stuff, and again, it's just, I do it because, I mean, it sounds funny, but a lot of times, number one, because I can, and there's others that can't. So I must take my opportunities and go with them. But the irony is, after my accident, I almost want to say the opportunities weren't there. I had to create my own opportunities.
Sure.
But that's the other thing that I think people need to realize. If you want a goal or a dream or anything, you need to make it happen. If there's an opportunity you want, whatever, some guys are lucky, or sometimes the opportunity the door just opens, but then you better sure as hell take it. Other times the door doesn't even open, but if you really want it, you need to make that opportunity. And I mean, that's famous saying of great player, the harder you practice, the luckier you get. But I always feel people misinterpreted it because of the way it's said. I want to say you create your own luck. That's actually what that saying is saying. That you create your own luck. And for me, the motivation behind it and all that stuff is part of the purpose. But is for me, even before my accident, I was a positive guy. For me, it was about impacting people. I mean, we spoke about it, touched on in the beginning. And that's the thing. I want to make an impact in people's lives. I want to change the world in a good way. But it starts within yourself, and it starts right here in the circles around you. And changing one person's life is already a win. You don't have to change the whole world.
For sure.
But if you change one person's life, that person might change another's life, and you were part of that. And that's purpose for me. I mean, that's you making a good impact in whatever you do. And my vehicle was sport. Why? Because I loved it, and I think it's all of this for me aligns with my faith and spirituality and those kind of things. But I just really think that is where I want to say my ethos is in sport. But I studied XI, all that stuff. But I just feel, for me, it's a challenge, and sport and Ironmans and triathlons. I just think it's one of the biggest challenges, because it's not just how you prepare and the timing of getting your body right. On the day, you've got things like wind and of the weather and stuff that happens and crashes and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I just love that more than, for instance, writing an exam, because I can be sick. It can be crazy weather, whatever, and you can still go and write the exam. But you don't have to face that kind of stuff. If I'm sick and I need to go do a proper race, you can't, because your body doesn't want to function. And you need to have your body so finely tuned and get the timing right to go perform on that specific day. And that's just extra cool for me, and I guess that's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why my vehicle to making that impact and getting to the purpose I feel my life has is sport.
Yeah, sure. And so I know that you swim double arm backstroke, right? So you swim double arm backstroke. And then what does the bike look like that you use in an Ironman?
Yeah, so the bike I lie flat on my back, and you've got hand pedals in front of you, but you pedal together. It's not like on a normal bike where it's yes.
Yeah, so one. It's both together.
It's both together, yeah. And you've got the normal gears and everything. As a quad, I was part of the evolution of hand cycling for quads almost, because the bikes was made for Paris. But now with electronic shifting, it's even cooler. It's just a button that you press. Wow. But I mean, I've got the buttons and the brakes that I do with my elbows and my forearms. positioned next to me. So, and obviously because I can't hold the handles, I've got special grips that I sort of custom made that works for myself. A lot of guys use the handle, gloves that click in, or make like special gloves and things that they can use. So, but yeah, that's the bike.
Technical.
It's very technical.
Yeah.
I mean, even as a quad, it gets very technical because, a lot of times we're all different, or one side is stronger than the other. So, yeah, there's lots of small nuances. So each person sometimes has something extra technical that he has to sort of figure out. So, but yeah, and then on the run, that's in the racing chair. So you sit sort of on your knees. It's also got 3 wheels, but you sit down on your knees.
Yeah.
There's no gears. It's got a push rim, 1 gear, and that's that you push the rim and you go. So
yeah,
I'd say the run is the uncomfortable, the hardest and most uncomfortable and most technical of all.
That position on the chair can't be comfortable. How do you support? What's supporting your torso?
Yeah, so I mean, in my case, I like the paras that's got trunk. They go up and down and use the trunk, but in my case, I actually have my knees even higher up than the paras because I don't have the tricep function. And I'm on my knees. So it takes a lot of playing, especially in the beginning. Obviously now over the years I've gotten good at it, but to get your position right. But even now still, if I do a lot of hard training or a long push after a marathon, I get these like lumps on my chest here at the top near my sternum because of the pressure, And I mean, there's ways of putting padding or whatever, but when I race, that's how I race. So it's...
Yeah.
The point is you're never going to get it perfectly comfortable, but when you do it, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. It's like a bike as well. I mean, triathlon or unaided Ks, in the end it's uncomfortable, but if you do long rides, you get used to it. So.
Sure. Okay. And then, so the events that you are better at are the longer events. Is that right? Because you don't have control over your torso and you can't use that movement from that the sprinters have an advantage there, right?
Yeah, so let me put it this way. I mean, if I race against another guy with exactly my disability, it's all side, same side. So, I mean, the only event that was open for my category was sprints at the Paralympics in 2012 in London, and I was 6th in the final. So I'm not bad at sprints, but it's not my focus. It's just not my passion. So, I must say the big denominator in a wheelchair, really, in the racing chair, well, and the bike and everything really is the tricep, not so much the trunk. But sure, the trunk plays a big role when it comes to sprints.
Yeah.
But when I'm racing in my own category, it's not about, everybody doesn't have trunk, or you're not supposed to have trunk unless you cheat. So, it's just for me, yes, I naturally are just more inclined anyway to endurance events. I've got big lungs and I just love it. And obviously the mind and the passion for it. So that's why I just like that more.
Sure. Okay. And then there's another, I don't even want to use the word obstacle, but there's another complication, and that is your eyesight. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I was born with a degenerative eye disease, and it's called choroideremia. So for those, it's more rare, but for those that know about RP, retinitis pigmentosus, the impact in the end is the same. You start getting tunnel vision and eventually go completely blind. So, I mean, right now, sitting at the age of 40, I've already lost central vision in the left eye, and my right eye is very, very close now. My peripheral vision is almost zero. Can't see at night at all. I'm going colorblind, and like going from sun into shade, all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't really even like driving my car much anymore. And I must say, COVID now, being in the house most of the time, not driving, that didn't help because, again, the more you do something, the more comfortable you are with it. But now, suddenly going out again with the car suddenly is much harder for me. And I don't think it's so much the eyesight that's gotten worse versus just not doing it and not realizing how just being in the motion of something keeps you going at it, So, but yeah, so that's another complication that's up. And look, there's clinical trials now. My older brother also has this, and he's now part of the last phase of the clinical trials where they do one eye, which will stop it, but you can't fix what's dead on your retina. And that looks very good, but it will only roll out. And now COVID hasn't helped that timeline as well, but it'll only roll out probably in 2022, 2023. So I'm just praying that it's sooner than later, and that my eyes are still sort of in a space where they are like right now, where
Savable.
I'm still sort of capable of doing a lot of stuff. But look, in the end, it's life. I'm not changing. My eyes are changing. So it's just going to be a new phase in my life. And even through my eyesight, I want to see it as it's been a superpower since I knew about it, because, I mean, I knew about this before my accident happened. And, I mean, that's the thing about pain or suffering. Depends on how you look at it. But I almost feel it's a whole philosophy that one can go on and use debate. But what would life be without it? Without failure, without pain, without suffering? If everything was just perfect, we would stand still. So for me,
we wouldn't know what happiness is.
Exactly. And I just feel it's actually a superpower. And my eyesight, for me, it's a superpower in the sense that I think it's making me live life and made me live life even more full while I still are able to see. Because, and it's not like I'm going to stop when I'm finished. Obviously, it created that mindset. But because of it, I think I'm living life even harder than anyone else. So for me, I almost want to say thanks for that, because I'm impacting many more just because I'm gunning life, you know.
Wow. Okay. So if you look at the future, if you look forward, and given the eyesight, as an actuary, is that something that you'll be able to continue doing from a work point of view, or have you got something else lined up, or and then also from a sporting point of view, what happens then?
Well, that's a great thing about losing your eyesight. You can't look far forward, so you just focus on now.
Oh my goodness!
Okay, no, I'm just kidding. No, so look, there's no reason why I can't be carrying on as an actuary. But it's just I'm working as an actuary in a certain way now. So it's twofold for me. I don't think I want to carry on working as actuary, because I feel I'm in a place in my life where I'm pushed in a different direction in many ways. So it's almost like my eyesight, I've always said, like, when my eyesight starts getting very irritating working behind a computer, I want to move into something which I'm not entirely sure where it's going now, but I'm starting to more and more get where I'm going. So that's point one. But point two, I'm pushed in that direction, but at the same time, I don't think I want to, to it. I feel I'm happy. I'm enjoying working as an actuary, but it's just, I think it's time for the other thing. So, but it will be possible if I want.
Inspiring more people.
Yeah, hopefully. It's always about, and I mean, I've got a 3.5-year-old kid. We struggled 7 years to have him as well, but yeah, it's just hopefully teaching him to also change the world, so it's, I mean, you've got kids, it's an incredible journey, so, but yeah, look, and I mean, I have to say, my employee at Deloitte, they will absolutely make anything work if they have to, they've just been so supportive to my whole life. But I just think it will be time to move on then for me. So, and I mean, I'm not keeping it a secret. My boss is very much on the same page with me.
Yeah. So, I think you have a future enriching more lives is the way I see it. And tell me, from a sporting point of view, how would that, if it does get to that point, how would that change things?
Look, sport is probably, I feel I was born with sport in my blood, so I don't think I'll ever stop doing sport. But from a competitive perspective, I'll make my own competitions, but you're not going to have a blind.
Just about to say, I was wondering where you were going with that.
But I mean,
you definitely can't tell me. I'm just going to stop being competitive.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not going to get a blind quadriplegic competitors. First of all, racing anything, I suppose, but also just having a class and a category for that, just won't be feasible. Maybe one day, but I mean, how many guys with all of that do you have? So. Point being, for me, I'll definitely focus a little bit more on my own stuff again, like Ironman, that doesn't really have a quadriplegic category, but I created my own challenge, if I can put it that way, and my own goal there.
Yeah.
But I mean, luckily, one thing that I can do in swimming, which is not going to change, is I already swim double on backstroke on my back. So in open water swims, I always have somebody swimming behind me and helping me keep my line. So whether I see or not, I can still swim.
That makes no difference.
Open water swim. Yeah. So look, I don't know where the shoulder's going to take me. I don't know where life takes you. But, the whole thing about the Robben Island swim was to see if English Channel crossing would be possible. So, there'll be challenges like that.
There's always going to be something.
But, I'm also of the opinion, maybe if I want, and we'll see how it goes, but with the technology these days, if I do go completely blind or whatever, I'll cycle a bike and have somebody on a remote control steer for me or whatever, You don't know where it's going to end, but it still needs to have, again, purpose or a reason, and I need to be motivated to do that versus something else, but I'll find something. The point is, life doesn't finish. You just don't have eyesight then anymore. That's the thing that people don't realize. People get in accidents and they die. They're gone. I'm still here. Eyesight goes, I'm still here. Your arm breaks, you break your neck, you lose anything of your body. If you're still alive, you're still alive. You can still make an impact. You can still do stuff. And the technology these days definitely makes it a lot easier and a lot more fun, sure. But at the same time, there's always people worse off than you. There always is. Maybe not physically,
sure.
but those things that you can't see or financially or whatever. So, I always want to say nut up and shut up and live life.
I agree. I agree with you. I said I had when I speak and people come to me afterwards and say, wow, I've heard your story. And I sat there thinking, wow, how dare I complain about the things that I see are issues? And my stuff is so trivial when I compare it to yours. And I always stop people and say, no, you're seeing this the wrong way. Your stuff is relevant and relative to you. There's no hierarchy of
absolutely.
So there's none of that. My job is to help you to identify the things that you can change and figure out how to change them, and to identify the things you can't change and figure out how to accept them and embrace them and move forward. That's my job. And I think you do that so incredibly well, is identify the things. And that's exactly what you just said now. You identify the things that you can control and you control them. Identify the things you can't and really let them go. And you're a magnificent example of that.
Look, and I must tell you, I came across hard there, but I'm on the same page though. Look, if a
that's
person...
not hard at all. It's like, what would you do?
But what I'm saying is, I'm completely with you. A problem for a person is still 100% a problem for that person. And
sure.
It's exactly it. For me, if a person loses his leg, I'm like, it's okay, he's able body, man. It's like, it's almost nothing compared to another situation. But in that situation, for that person, it's a huge deal until he moves on. I think that's the key thing, it's just like you say, to try and get that mindset. For some people, it's easier than others, and that's where I just thank God that it was obviously a very easy thing for me. But at the same time, I do understand that people struggle with it, and it's important for them to own it and then move on. I think that's the key thing, like you said.
So, Peter, just in closing, I always ask the guests for a little tip or just something that can maybe help some of the people that are listening or watching to this who are struggling with their own sense of purpose. What would your advice be?
It's always a tough question.
Well, you've given us a lot already.
Yeah.
You really have. Even if you hadn't couched it quite like that.
Yes. The thing for me is just it's very important, first of all, to at least to have a purpose. I want to say my wife always said, she doesn't care about a goal. She doesn't have a goal, etc. And in the beginning, it's not like I struggled with her, but I told her, but it can't be, whatever. But in the end, she might see it that way. But then I showed her, but you have a goal. Look at that, look at that, look at that. And I think the important thing is just to identify that it is important to have a purpose, because then you know where you're going. How do you find it? You're going to have to struggle. And hopefully there was a lot of tools today that came out. You give people tools, etc. But the point is, you have to, first of all, start within yourself to figure it out. But, for me, I almost want to just say everybody's purpose almost must be to make a good impact around them. And everybody can. It's almost like, it's self-belief. So my main tip would be start believing in yourself. Because I think a lot of people don't have self-belief.
Sure.
And they don't believe that they actually are making an impact. But sometimes they make an impact to somebody they didn't even know. And I always say, standing on the opposite side of a till, smiling at somebody can inspire that guy and give him purpose. Because everyone else at the end of the day didn't. And they nasty and they tired and whatever. Here comes one person and he just smiles. It lights up that guy's day, and you gave him purpose to just get through the next hour. But the point is, simple, small things like that. But if you believe in that, you'll start getting more and more self-belief. And the more small things you get self-belief in the end, you'll way past the goal that you have.
Fantastic. Pieter, thank you so much. I could carry on talking to you for ages. Fascinating. There's so much more I'd like to find out and know. But if you, like me, would like to find out some more, please follow Pieter's journey. You'll find him we put all the deets in the show notes. Go and find them there. Go and follow him and be inspired. Pieter, thank you so much. And just wanted to wish you everything of the best.
Huge pleasure, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you for staying right to the end of the episode and for joining me on the Enrichment project. Before you go, please share this episode with your friends and your colleagues. They will thank you, I'm sure. Remember that you can catch each Path to Purpose episode by watching on YouTube, or if you prefer, on your favorite podcast app. The link to my book, The Power of Purpose, is in the show notes. Please go and check it out. It's a rad account of my own story of purpose and resilience and my fight against brain cancer. I finished 6 full Ironman events, a number of multi-stage mountain bike races, 9 Ironman 70.3 races, including the Ironman World Championships, and a bunch of other endurance events, all with stage 4 brain cancer, because I wanted it that badly and getting to the finish line meant that much to me. As a professional inspirational speaker, business and life coach, author and storyteller, I'd love to add more value to you or your organization. Please find more details on my website, iamrichardwright.com, and book me today for a live or virtual keynote, a masterclass, workshop, or coaching session, or please follow my journey on Facebook, I Am Richard Wright, Twitter, The Right Rich, Instagram, I Am Richard Wright, or on LinkedIn. I'd love the opportunity to enrich your team. Thank you to the professional crew at Solid Gold Podcasts for the support, the talent, and the mad skills. And to Anna Hick for her creativity and genius video magic. Thank you. You all rock.